Ancient Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu once said, "It is good to deflect an attack. It is better to not be attacked in the first place." In this episode of Future Proof, learn how modern defense technology shot down 500 of 500 ballistic missiles fired at Israel.
The future is here already. It's just not evenly distributed. Yet. Today's world teems with innovation. The nexus of hardware, software, and human ingenuity promises a revolution in possibilities. What does tomorrow look like? Witness Future Proof.
That is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, so like 13 months ago, Israel exhibited the world's largest ballistic missile attack in the history.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Wow.
300 of such ballistic missile with nearly 1 ton of explosive in each missile were fired to our cities, our houses, our kindergartens, our hospitals, our families. This is what happened. And the outcome, imagine what's happened if the US was exhibiting but such an attack from adversary at scale. It was all over the news, and there was nothing that any normal human being could do about it.
Right.
Nothing. Because these missiles are so strong, so explosive, that if it hits a house, it smashes the entire house and kills all of the people. No house, no people. So statistically, now you're in a casino, gambling on the lives of either your family, your friends, your beloved ones. I don't want to talk about, about properties, like houses and vehicles. And this is exactly what happened 13 months ago in Israel.
Wow.
And we saw the launches in our news, and we knew that these missiles are coming at us.
Wow.
The results, 0 casualties at our side.
That's crazy.
0 casualties at our side. Minor damage to some properties because of some residuals, right? 0 casualties. You know what I did in that night? I took my family to the living room, made popcorn, and watched the Interception live.
Wow.
No shelter, nothing. I told my wife and kids, we're going to intercept all. You're safe. Let's have some fun. And we had fun. And I knew that we are going to intercept this attack and subsequent attacks because I saw the Israeli array of air defense solutions, the multi-layer air defense, from the moment they were an idea and a set of equations and spreadsheets.
Wow.
Until the deployment and consistent operational proofs in protecting our lives.
Wow.
So although the attack was new, this is intercontinental, it's a ballistic missile with much larger warheads. I knew that we will be protected by the Israeli air defense area.
That's
Okay?
amazing.
And you can say you gambled the life of your family, but it wasn't a gamble. I knew the percentage, I knew how the system works. I knew we will be protected, and that's exactly what happened.
Wow.
To complete the details, 6 months afterward, Iran launched similar attack with improved missiles, and again, it was completely intercepted, no casualties.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
bal-
amazing.
ballistic missiles and the number of missiles, that's the thing, right? Because this system has to be able to identify every incoming piece of ordnance
Yeah.
and then separately launch and track for each and every one of them. Is it typically one per missile, or do you fire multiple per missile to
I'll
ensure?
explain. I'll
Yeah.
explain. To give you the broader picture of this dual attacks by Iran, it was comprised of also cruise missiles,
Hmm.
drones, and UAVs. Okay, with respect to the cruise missiles, drones, and UAVs, we had great support from our U.S. allies. Okay, and most on the drones, cruise missiles, and UAVs were intercepted before reaching the borders of Israel by the coalition, which was led by the US and Israel. Okay? The ballistic missiles were intercepted only by the Israeli air defense system.
Wow.
Okay? Because they went out of space. Okay? And no aircraft can intercept ballistic missiles from outer space, and penetrated to our borders in the hypersonic mode, so very fast mode, very fast speed, and they were intercepted by our air defense system. So it was Arrow 3, David Sling, and the Iron Dome.
Hmm.
3 layer of air defense system.
Wow.
Okay. So now would you like to just review how it works?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So every defense operation, every defense system, and including air defense, starts with information, data. So you need to sense that an attack is looming.
Hmm.
Okay? The earlier you sense it, the better the outcome, the higher the chances for you to intercept and to become safe. Okay? So the first layers are of detection and sensing are offline of sight layers, which are in space.
Hmm.
Okay, so satellite monitor the Earth continuously, and if there's a potential attack looming, there is a focus of the satellite intelligence of the suspicious area. Okay, and the satellite can detect suspicious movement. Okay, and there's also a possibility to detect launches already from the satellite.
Hmm.
If
Wow.
a detection is if a launch, if an attack is somehow even partially detected by a satellite, it makes the task easier because you can apply multiple layered solution. Okay,
Hmm.
so the second layer of detection, and this is the key and the core layer of the detection, is the radars. Okay, radar stands for radio detection and ranging. So radar transmits radiation, especially modulated radiation. It is the radiation, the waves are modulated, waveform is modulated in order to achieve a given set of performance, detection, classification, ambiguity, resolution, reduction of the false alarms, reliability of the tracking and of the detection, right? So you aggregate all of these factors, and then you create a scheme of how to modulate the energy that is being transmitted. Okay, so the radar, and this is a huge radar. I will soon share a slide if you want to see how it looks like. Transmits huge amount of energy, okay, to the air, and the radar processes the reflection. So the energy is transmitted, it intersects with targets, and portion of the radiation, portion of the energy is being reflected back to the radar. Okay? Based on the reflected energy, the radar applies signal processing algorithms. So it's like actual analytical mathematics, okay, to classify the target, and also artificial intelligence algorithms to classify the target. So the received energy in the radar undergoes both analytic signal processing and AI. And it has two major targets. One is to detect, so know something that is there, okay? To classify, to say whether it is a friend of a foe or a foe, a missile or an airplane or a helicopter, right? And also track. Track by mean we need to know the precise location of the threat in each frame, each millisecond, okay? And this is what the radar does. The radar scans the entire environment all the time, okay? There's no blanks, no blanks. The entire threat domain or potential threat domain of threat is being scanned by the radar all the time.
Wow.
Okay? So we have consistent eyes that works to hundreds and thousands of kilometers. The Israeli radars today can also detect and track satellites deep in the space, our space. Okay? So not just aerial target, but also space
Wow.
target.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. I
And
did
this
not
is-
know that.
yeah. So this is the first layer. Okay, make sense? Okay. The second layer is the perception layer. Okay, the mission perception layer. It means now we are in the brain segment. We sensed, we know roughly what it is. Now we start the perception and planning. Okay, what's exactly the perception and planning? This is nearly hyperscale calculation that says how many targets there are, what are their routes, what is the optimal trajectory per interceptor that needs to be made in order to intercept all the targets. How many interceptor should be fired per target, right?
Right.
This includes the many parameters. It's performed by optimization of multi-domains in terms of security, probability of success, and also cost. You want to cost optimize throughout the mission. And AI do that in the perception there. So the outcome is the outcome of the perception layer is a full mission planning. Okay? And then after this is ready, there's a launch. Okay? So the interceptors are launched. Okay? And after the launch, there is, the missile updates the system, the AI system, the ground AI system, each frame on its location, performance. Maybe there's a problem with the missile. So you need to launch another missile. Maybe there are other, unseen or surprise in the scenario that needs a specific reply in real time, right? So there's a direct communication between the missile and the computational station that does the perception and the planning in real time. And then the missile is autonomous. So the missile has eyes itself and brain of itself. Because as you know, like human beings, the closer you get to the target, the better you see it, the more information you have, and you can make better decisions. So at some point, the mission load goes fully to the missile themselves, and they chase the target. The target maneuver, they respond. If they see that this is a friend, they avoid the targets and explode or fall to the sea, right? All of that. And everything is in the middle of that space. And then there's the end game stage. So the end game kill chain. What does it mean? So what's the target? How am I going to intercept the target? Whether it is a hit to kill, or I should activate a warhead. Is this target is nuclear? Because if it's nuclear, I want to intercept it in a specific way that will not activate a nuclear reaction.
Right.
Did that. Or if it's a conventional threat, I can use a warhead and improve the chances of interception. So these operations are made in the missile's eyes and brains. Okay, it's called seekers, radar seekers.
I wanted to ask you too. I'm just guessing here because you've got an AI system. You're of course focused on algorithms of physics and how things fly and move, but also you have pattern detection and classification. And I'm guessing that the system is designed to recognize new patterns of behavior and then identify those and classify those. So you get a new missile
So
that's acting in a way that you haven't seen before. Now, I'm guessing there's a way to identify that as a new pattern, as an emergent behavior, and classify that. Now I know what that is. So maybe can you talk about how the system learns from new experiences and how that is persisted and
so
leveraged in the future?
good point. So in order to enable the next generation Golden Dome, you cannot count on existing sensor stack. Why? Because existing sensor stack are optimized for missiles and airplanes, not for drones and UAVs. They're not general.
Right.
They're designed based on assumptions. Okay? And the main problem with that is the resolution. Okay? The resolution of the radar is the biggest sensing problem of air defense systems today. And I give you an example to quantify, right? Some numbers. So the pixel size of an average air defense radar is roughly 100 meters.
Wow.
So imagine a picture with a pixel size of 100 meters. Okay, so every target that has altitude of below 100 meters is considered today as a ground target.
Wow.
Yes. So this is why, in order to intercept cruise missile, you need either ships or airplanes, because the air defense radars have very low pixel size. But this pixel size is not only on the space, it's also in the velocity. Okay? And in the velocity is like 300 kph, 100 miles per hour. So every target that flies below 100 miles per hour is considered as static target.
Wow.
Non-moving target.
Right. Even though
Okay?
it's moving 80 miles an hour.
Yes. So today's threats, and this is a huge problem. One of the problems that we solved in Apex is that the resolution of today's air defense sensors does not get even close to what's needed in coping with new threats. Okay? So just to give you an example, at Apex, we developed a 4-dimensional imaging radar with resolution of 3 centimeters. So what is like 100 meters in today's solution is 3 centimeters in our solution. This is what makes us not predict, directly sense the trajectory. We're not guessing. We sense the trajectory in real time.
Wow.
Understand? And this makes what makes the interception much more solid, okay, and trustworthy, also for the new threats, not just the old threats, but also for the drone swarms, and UAVs. And now Do you have more question on the sensing and trajectory part?
Uh, I mean, I do, but keep going. You'll probably answer it as you talk.
And now, and now there is the AI, and not a lot of people talk about that because of the lack of experience, of technology and operational experience in that domain. But we need that the system needs to classify the targets. You need to know whether it is a drone or a bird,
Mm-hmm.
whether it is a UAV or a vehicle. You need to know that. It's not just something and know that something is there. The system needs to know that this is a threat and the class of the threat to launch an interceptor. Okay? How do they know that? This is not GPT. There's no
Right.
textual information that tells you about the physical signature of a drone, right?
Right.
You cannot label the data. You know that if you look at today's AI, it is either like ChatGPT, GPT-like, which works on self-supervised learning,
Mm-hmm.
and then human feedback, like a reinforcement learning with human feedback to create the guardrails and optimize the models, etc. There is no way that such information exists on the internet, and you cannot create guardrail by human because human cannot see a radar signature and know what it is. No
Right.
one else. So this is a new class of AI,
Hmm.
right? So on top of the high resolution sensing, extremely high resolution, there's a breakthrough in resolution. It's a foundational breakthrough that overcomes theoretical bounds. Been
Hmm.
working for that for more than 15 years to reach that.
Wow.
You need a breakthrough in AI. How do you know that this is a drone from 15 kilometers? You cannot label it. No human can label it. So how do you do that? So we developed a new multi-physics and AI that knows that automatically without human labelers. Okay? In the classical computer vision and AI, you know, like companies like Scale AI, which is a famous company, they employ 250,000 manual labelers and data workers. This can
Yeah.
never
Right.
scale, right?
Right.
Can
Right.
never scale. So you need to do it in much higher level of data complexity, and you need to do it fully automated in order to get the strategic advantage. And this is
Mm-hmm.
exactly what we do. This
Wow.
like the under the hood of what enabled us to get the result that we are now getting.
Right. Well, you're using deterministic algorithms as opposed to stochastic or probabilistic, right? I mean, that's, if I
So,
understand it correctly,
so
that
first and foremost, all of our pipelines, AI pipelines, is automatic. No human in the loop.
hmm,
No data labelers. No manual backend of AI. You know, the backend of AI is like, there's an image from the Industrial Revolution, right? The AI is very nice and glamorous from the outside, but the backend is like thousands of people labeling data, guardrailing the GPT. So the huge backend paradox in AI. We don't have this paradox. We do everything fast and automated
hmm.
versus the slow, non-scalable, and manual of today's AI backends.
And
Okay.
so how did you train this model is I guess my big question, right? Like
Yeah.
what's the input that you would use because you're taking data from radar, you're taking telemetry data basically, right, from radar, and
Yeah.
you're taking visual data and other forms. So these are unwieldy sources. They don't really fit into a table in a data
Yeah. They
warehouse,
don't. They
right?
don't.
So
Yeah.
how did you train that?
So I think that you asked the most critical and most confidential, of course, question
Right.
on how it's being done. So you cannot do it the way it is being done today.
Right.
You cannot do it.
Right.
No, no taking missing piece of the puzzle and completed by sentence. No, dense estimation, sample generation. You need to do it completely different. So what we do is start from the basic mathematics. Okay, we build analytical signal processing pipelines for each of the sensor modalities we address. So it is radar, LiDAR, GPS, IMU, camera, and acoustical sensors.
I see.
So by analytical pipelines, I mean how the signal is being processed from the moment it is converted from analog to digital until the output is created. So we have specialized pipelines for each sensor modality.
Interesting.
And then we fuse them. And then we have multi-frame processing on all of them. And then also we have the AI on each of the sensor modalities and also the fused information. Okay? A bit of how we train it self-supervised and weakly supervised. And we use a lot of physics constraints and physics equations like continuity, causality, momentum conservation, and memory to improve and strengthen the model and gives also some physical implication. Okay? And the outcome of that is multi-physics foundational AI models that are trained on all of these modalities, and they can predict and generate sensor data very high fidelity. Okay? Based on these models, we build expert agents, expert interception agents that are expert, in autonomous interceptions. So you do this huge multi-physics AI model, distill it, build expert interception agents on top of it, and this is the final software that is deployed.
Wow. That is so incredibly cool. I like the way because what you instrumented the environment, right? I mean, that's what the sensors are. You've instrumented the environment, and as you suggest, you're catching radar, LiDAR, visual optics, and also sound. And then you're leveraging a baseline of understanding of material science, of the physical properties of these objects, how they move, how the weather conditions might affect that, for example, right? You're scanning all these things. That's one hell of a processing engine. I mean, goodness gracious, is it? I mean, I'm just curious, and feel free to not answer questions because there is proprietary stuff involved here. But I'm guessing that you have clusters, and do they spin up new clusters like when there's an attack? Does it spin up additional clusters to be able to handle the additional input, or how does that work?
It's quite sensitive, but I'll try to answer.
Okay. Thank you.
First and foremost, you will be surprised to hear and to learn that our models is much smaller than today foundational models. And the reason is, and it's quite sensitive, that the mechanisms that we use in the training process improve the precision of the model without any human in the loop. So there are barely no neurons that are wasted on AI crap, like the spontaneous stuff, the non-control stuff. So we give the data guidance. I try to select my word, right? In the training process. So we get much more accurate models, but smaller.